Hello, beautiful people. And Happy New Year. I know that I'm not the only one for whom the past couple months have been pretty exceedingly difficult. If you're a longer term viewer of my channel, then you know that my location has changed yet again. Thankfully, this location is a little more stable than the previous ones have been, and I will be here for the foreseeable future. Not exactly here, I'm still figuring out the exact place that I'm gonna sort of set up my filming digs. But as far as location goes, this is the city, this is the apartment that I'll be in for at least a good long while now. I can't remember actually when I dropped off again. I think sometime around October. That's when most things kind of blew up a little bit. But I meant what I said. I do want to come back to BookTube and actually be making videos regularly again and reconnect with this community. So here I am, new year, same old me, trying to make things work. So I've been away, but I have been reading, I have been book shopping. What better way to start things off in this sort of cozy, chatty, I don't even know really what this video is going to be, but I figured the best way to start it off, because I've got them right here and I would love to share them with you, is a sort of mini holiday book haul. This video can also act basically as a priority TBR for the first quarter of the year, because my previous strategy of sort of reading the oldest things on my TBR first and waiting to read the newer acquisitions later hasn't really worked for me. I've realized that I'm acquiring new books because I'm excited to read them in this moment. So I want to sort of ride that momentum as much as I possibly can. These books are not all new releases, but they are ones that I'm very excited to actually finally get to. The first is Model Home by Rivers Solomon. I don't know very much about any of my TBR books, as is sort of the norm for me, but what I do know about Model Home is that it follows a collection of siblings who are living just outside of a town in Texas, and very strange things begin to occur to them in a new home that they've just moved into. I really love The Deep by Rivers Solomon when I read it a couple years back at this point. Wow, time is... But I found their writing to be, even in a non-horror book, really atmospheric and moody, and that's the sort of thing that I really respond to in my horror. So I'm very excited to see how they handle that sort of thing in this release as well. I'm also trying to get my long-term partner to do a me and him book club sort of thing. I made him read a couple of pages of Model Home and he got absolutely hooked. So Model Home is a huge priority for me, mostly so that I can pass it off to him and then we can discuss it, because I feel like there's going to be a lot to talk about in this particular book. Another such book that I want to read and discuss with my partner is The Sapling Cage by Margaret Killjoy. Laurel has always dreamed of becoming a witch. There's only one problem. All witches are women and she was born a boy. When the coven comes to claim her best friend, Laurel disguises herself in a dress and joins in her friend's place, leaving home and her old self behind. I figured out about Margaret Killjoy by listening to a podcast with my partner, Behind the Bastards. It's hosted by Robert Evans, not by Margaret, but Margaret is a pretty frequent guest. She is a writer from Appalachia, and I'm a writer who is sort of from Appalachia, but more importantly, I find that she writes incredibly insightfully and incisively. I really, really enjoy her writing voice, and I'm excited to see it turned into a work of fantasy fiction. I'll leave a link in the description box below where you can hear her reading one of her short pieces of work. I believe it's called No Nazis in Valhalla. It's kind of fantastic, and I do recommend you give it a listen. It's a very short piece of fiction. Perhaps it will get you to understand why I cannot wait to sink my teeth into her longer fiction as well. I also bought myself a physical... Ooh, that's my cookies done. Hold on. I also bought myself a physical copy of Freya Marskay's Sword Cross, which is a book I've read and loved last year. I'll leave my review of this book linked in the description box below, but basically it is everything the romantasy genre should strive to be. It has such beautiful, actual, sensical fantasy world building that permeates every part of the characters' lives and is really crucial to the goings on of the plot without taking away in the slightest from the relationship between our two leads. Matti and Luca are some of my favorite leads that I've read about in a very, very long time. This might be one of my favorites of 2024. I'm still sort of percolating that list and figuring out how I'm going to wrap up the 6 months that I didn't do wrap-ups for in a way that's satisfying. I'm rambling. Basically, the long and short of it is I really love this book and I had to have a physical copy, especially because if my NetGalley arc expires, as it will, everything gets archived on there eventually, I would have been just devastated to not be able to access this story anymore. So I grabbed myself a copy. And that doesn't count as adding to my TBR because I have read it. I have read it, and recently enough that it doesn't count. I have not read that physical book yet, though it is kind of calling to me. No, I have new other things to read. I have to prioritize that which I haven't read first. Throwing it way back, I also got A.S. Biat's Possession, which is a romance novel from the 90s, but in a way that feels like dark and academic. This feels like perhaps dark academia before dark academia was a subgenre. So winner of England's Booker Prize and a stunning literary sensation, Possession is an exhilarating novel of wit and romance, at once an intellectual mystery and a triumphant love story. It is the tale of a pair of young scholars researching the lives of two Victorian poets as they uncover their letters, journals, and poems and track their movements from London to Yorkshire, from spiritualist seances to the fairy-haunted far west of Brittany. What emerges is an extraordinary counterpoint of passion and ideas. Right? It was on sale at my local indie. I hadn't heard anything about it. I think the cover is absolutely stunning. I love the Raphaelite Brotherhood for romanticizing the jawline that I have, so the moment I see it on a cover, I am immediately sold. And because at my heart of hearts, I am a pretentious academic, I love anything that sells me on a romance as a deeply intellectual thing. When I finally play Baldur's Gate, I'm almost certainly going to be romancing Gale, not on purpose, but just because that's the sort of illness I have in my personal head. Yeah, Possession, ASBI. Can't wait to tell you about it. Mainly, I'm excited to see how that story sort of drew lines and like how you can follow the through lines from that book into what we are reading nowadays in terms of dark academia and romance, because I feel like, given it was a prize winner and is still on sale now, almost 40 years after publication, probably it has a tremendous amount of relevance. Again, I don't know very much about it. It was sort of an impulse buy. I also recently got Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. This is another one that I know relatively little about, but some booktubers that I trust very much have recommended it, have been shouting the quality of it from all of the rooftops. And a very close friend of mine, Dana, with whom I went to Worldcon alongside Leah, described it to me as, I believe, an autistic monster love story. Am I supposed to be normal about that? I love monsters as an allegory for otherness in the human experience, and I think if it's done very, very overtly, but still in a way that a trusted writing and reading friend of mine can vouch for, I think it's going to be an absolutely stellar thing. I think the cover is stunning. I realize that's not the point, but I love whatever's going on here, and I hope I love whatever's going on in here as well. Now, I can't remember if I actually hauled this before, and I'm not going to bother to check because I'm trying to keep this as organic as possible, but I also bought Ruby Dixon's Bull Moon Rising. This is the first of her traditionally published monster romance fantasy series that she's doing. I've actually begun reading Bull Moon Rising, so I can tell you a little bit about it. I know, shocker, what a concept, talking about the books you're reading on BookTube instead of just holding them up. But it follows Aspeth, who is a holder's daughter, which means that she is essentially one of the nobility who owns magical artifacts. However, her holding is bankrupt because of her father's gambling addiction, so Aspeth is going off to join the Artificers Guild, basically a guild of people who search the underground tunnels and look for loot, look for these magical artifacts in the hopes that she can sort of rebuild the strength of her hold before the rivaling duchies basically figure out that they're defenseless and take them over and maybe kill Aspeth and her whole family. No pressure, right? It also happens to help that Aspeth has been obsessed with the idea of joining this guild since she was a wee lass, even before these financial problems hit her family. So she is doubly disappointed, both because of her desperation and because of her childhood longing, when she is turned away at the door because the guild ostensibly does not let women in. That is, it doesn't let women in if they don't have a chaperone. Enter Hawk, who is a minotaur and part of this artifact guild and would be one of Aspeth's instructors were she to be able to join. Aspeth needs a chaperone. He needs somebody with whom to survive the rut he's about to go into. Mutual benefit? So they decide to get married about it, and the story goes from there. That is basically as far as I've gotten into the story so far, and it is classic Ruby Dixon fun times so far. Mainly, I got this because Ruby Dixon just works for me. I fly through her stuff really quickly, and I was really excited to be able to sort of throw my support financially behind her and let, traditional publishing know that, hey, this is an indie author who we will rally behind. Obviously, her success is proven, and I want to throw my dollars behind proving it further so that she gets more opportunities like this. And the final book that I bought was The Dawn Hounds by Sasha Stronach. The port city of Hynak is alive. Its buildings, its fashion, even its weapons. After a devastating war and a biotech revolution, all its inhabitants want is peace. No one more so than Constable Jin Yat Hok. Recently demoted on the force due to lifestyle choices after being caught at a gay club, Yat is barely holding it together. haunted by memories of a lover who vanished and voices that float in and out of her head like radio signals. When she stumbles across a dead body on night patrol, 2 fellow officers gruesomely murder her and dump her into the harbor. Unfortunately for them, she wakes up. Resurrected by an ancient power, she finds herself with the ability to manipulate life force. Quickly falling in with the pirate crew who has found her, she must race against time to stop a plague from being unleashed by an evil that has taken deep root in Hainaut. Hello? I will say what drew me to this book very first was seeing the blurbs by Rebecca Rowanhorse and Tamsin Weir. So Stronach is a Maori author, and this book actually won the Sir Julius Vogel Awards at the Hugos. And I'm gutted that I hadn't heard of it until a wonderful bookseller at an indie bookshop in the place that I am now wrote a little blurb about the book and got me to pick it up in hand and actually read the back cover copy. And I'm so glad I did, because that sounds incredible. Queer sci-fi with pirates. I mean, I'm in on all counts. And the fact that it was blurbed by 2 of my favorite authors writing in the speculative fiction space right now is always a triumph for me. The fact that it was blurbed by Tamsin Weir is really great, because one of the last things I read in 2024 was finally finishing Harrow the Ninth. Yes, I did it. I finished the gaslighting book. It's incredible. What can I say? It's fucking phenomenal. It's wonderful. All that you've heard about it and more is true. And I can't wait to get into Nona finally, now that I have completed Harrow in a way that doesn't make me feel like my brain is melting out of my ears. We are no longer in the book haul time. We are now just in the priority TBR time. Much like I had to do for beginning Harrow after rereading Gideon, because I was feeling like I was gaslit, I don't want very much time to pass between my reading of Harrow and my freshness of the memories of what's going on in the series and picking up Nona, because the book is, the series is continuing, I believe, to be an absolute mindfuck of things. Now my main question is, do I reread Gideon, reread Harrow, and reread Nona so that I can make myself, not really for anyone else, but truly just for myself, a deep, comprehensive overview of the entire series, so that when Alecto finally comes out, fingers crossed we get a release date announced relatively soon. But when Alecto finally comes out, I'm gonna need a refresher, and I'm gonna need it to be done by somebody who understands the way that the gears turn in my weird little head. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna read Nona for the first time, then I'm gonna do a whole series reread, and then I'm gonna make that recap video for myself. I'm not telling you anything about this book. Part of that was an accident, because I am out of practice for filming, and part of that is because I don't know how to even begin explaining to you what this might be about without, I don't know if I can even spoil the first 2 books properly. This series is weird. I really enjoy it. I'm a little confused most of the time while it's happening, but I'm having a great time, especially with all of the allusions and then the memes. Whatever is going on in Tamsin Weir's nog, I wanna have it beamed directly into mine. I think that would be good for me. Anyway, this is book 3 out of 4 in the Locked Tomb series, beginning with Gideon the Ninth, which is very often tongue-in-cheek referred to as lesbian necromancers in space, but it's truly so much more than that. That first one is a murder mystery from the point of view of the biggest sword himbo that I've ever read about. It's an absolute delight. Love Gideon. Love Harrow. Love Ianthe, because I'm again, sick in the head. Really love everything that's going on here. This is truly top of list. And whilst reading all of that, I'm also making my way through the stories in The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. This is a collection of feminist short stories. If you love fairy tales, if you love speculative fiction, you've heard her name before. Talking about incisive writing, she absolutely grips the English language by the throat with her teeth, and the most beautiful prose in the world comes out, but not in a purple way, in a way where every word carries a tremendous amount of weight, and in a short story where every word is a larger percentage overall of the final product. That means a lot. I'm going through this slowly because I feel it's the only way that you can do any of these stories justice and actually understand all that she was trying to say. People will say writing a novel is harder than writing a short story because it's longer. Sure, you can also fit a lot more just stuff in a novel. You have to cut away every bit of fat for a short story to make it actually sing. And that's so impressive to me. I'm deeply intimidated by Angela Carter and everything she's done in here, but I'm having such a lovely time about it. Okay, what else? More top of TBR stuff. I've got some NetGalley arcs to review, Water Moon being one of them. That is a release coming out later this month. It is about a girl who recently took over a pawn shop from her father after he retired, but the pawn shop isn't a regular pawn shop. It's a cool pawn shop where people find their way into it by accident and they are trading in old choices that they've made, things that they regret either choosing or not choosing. So they can leave those choices behind and return into the mortal world free of knowing anything about the fact that they made those choices in the first place. Only one day, our protagonist wakes up and the door to the pawn shop, which never opens unless somebody is actively coming in, is wide open. She can't find her father and something has been stolen from the pawn shop. And the story goes from there. You're gonna love Watermoon when it comes out. I'm gonna have a full review of it relatively soon, probably within my January wrap up, because yes, I'm doing those again. I've also got some stuff going on in Libby, book YN, which is a trippy story about a girl who becomes obsessed with this K-pop band. I'm reading Orconomics, which is sort of poking fun at RPG fantasy or RPGs in general. I just finished the first book in the Gale Song saga. Basically, your girl's reading, and I'm really thrilled about that. I'm really enjoying that. I'm enjoying this hobby again. I'm very happy that I'm reading physically again, because for a while there I wasn't. Things were rough, but they are doing better now. And in the hopes of keeping this momentum going, in the hopes of keeping things going well, I guess now's the part of the video where I transition into booktube plans. And it's gonna be a relatively short portion, I hope, because I don't really have any defined plans. My only goal really is to post regularly, try to get my once a week thing going, and it's gonna be whatever I want to be doing. I'm trying not to put any pressures on myself, because the best way that I can ensure that this habit continues during a time of, you know, continued transition and change is to keep it fun and good. So I guess that's really the only goal for this year regarding this channel, regarding my reading as well, is keep having it be a fun, good thing. Underneath which, of course, is my goal of lower your physical TBR so that you can buy more books to add to it, because the beautiful thing about a TBR is it never actually reaches zero. You never actually finish reading all the things that you would like to read. God, I hope. God, I can't fathom the existence of somebody who's like, yeah, I'm done, actually, now. I've done it. I've read all the media that I want to consume. That's yuck. No, I mean, if that's you, if that describes you, I'm so happy for you, and I'm sure that that's lovely. Not for me. It's not for me. So that's mostly it for this video. Depending on the length, I might take you along with my partner and me for a little vloggy vlog in the beautiful winter wonderland going outside. If that's not your vibe, that's absolutely fine as well. The next video will be a little bit more structured and more of what we're used to. We're going to be doing a little bit of wrapping up of what we've been reading in the past 6 months, while it's still semi-fresh in my head. But for now, that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave me a thumbs up. And if you like me, maybe consider subscribing to my channel. I will be posting every Thursday this year. Hold me to it, and I would love to have you join my little bookish family. Comment down below if you've read and enjoyed any of the books on my winter priority TBR. I'm not saying January because there's just no way. Basically, hype me up for these and let me know which one you think I should get to first. Or if leaving a whole comment is too much, I totally get that. Go ahead and leave me a snowflake emoji in the comment section in honor of my beautiful snowy day. But that really is it for me. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you with the next one very, very soon. Goodbye.